Hey everybody, Sean from Media Assault here, and it is time once again for a movie review. This time out, I thought I would do a review of the new film Chappie, which is now in theaters. This is the film that is it's the third film from Neil Blomkamp, who is responsible for District 9 and Elysium. District 9 is a film that I really enjoyed. I thought it was a fantastic vision of the future in terms of the way it was visualized, not that the future in it was fantastic. But it had fantastic visual effects. It had a really tight story. Because of its South African locale, it had a fresh perspective in the science fiction universe on film. I just thought it was really an interesting movie, and it was done well. Elysium, on the other hand, starring Matt Damon, didn't really do it for me anywhere near as much as District 9. It still had that unique vision of the future that was visually portrayed visually very well. Special effects were fantastic, but the story just wasn't that strong. Unfortunately, that same problem exists with Chappie. We've got a very strong, very visually unique film, once again taking place in South Africa, Johannesburg, as it were. But the story kind of goes off the rails about halfway through the film, and it never really recovers. And it's sort of crippled from the beginning with sort of these bizarre characters that I found very unappealing, and I found it very difficult to even latch on to anybody in the film that I liked, and that included the Chappie robot, who is the star of the show, as it were, even though he's CGI. So what's Chappie about? Well, you may be kind of confused by the marketing for this film because depending on which trailer you see, you may think you're getting a very hardcore action film, or you may think you're getting a lighthearted comedy with a robot thinking and learning like a baby. What you actually get is a very convoluted film that doesn't really know where it wants to go. It starts off with some news footage, actually some interviews of people talking about past events, and we never hear from those people again. So I don't know what the context was of those two interviews at the beginning of the film, but we then take from those interviews, we jump back 18 months, and we tell this story of the creation of this police force. I believe there's 100 of these things called scouts. They're basically very RoboCop-esque type policemen that are robots, and they are capable, there's no human interaction, they are capable of making decisions on the fly and working with the human police to crack down on crime, and they do a very good job. They virtually eliminate crime in Johannesburg, South Africa, to the point where the company that makes them is now receiving orders and interest from all over the world, including the United States and Europe and whatnot. So the program is going very well. Well, this group of, I don't want to call them a gang, I guess they're street thugs or street criminals. They're played by a South African rave group called Die Antwoord, who I didn't know anything about before this film. I didn't even know they were a rap group while I was watching the film. I just thought they were very poor actors, basically, who looked very strange. They come up with this idea that if they can shut those robots off, they can score this big heist to pay this debt that they owe to another criminal, and then they can make themselves legit. They don't have to be criminals anymore. So I guess from an audience perspective, we're supposed to think that they're criminals with a heart of gold because they really want to get out of what they're doing or whatever. So where does Chappie come in? Well, Chappie is the result of a character named Dion, who is the creator of these scout robots, this police force. He has, of course, devised their way to make decisions on the fly and act as police, but what he's really wanting to do is come up with a fully functional, fully conscious artificial intelligence program that can make its own decisions and learn and form opinions and visualize things on its own. Well, he succeeds, and he installs this program onto a disabled scout robot, but he is kidnapped by the three individuals who form this criminal group because they think he can shut the other robots off. Well, they're not aware of the fact that he has this artificial intelligence program in this robot. They come up with the idea of using this robot to help them with the heist. But of course, they're saddled with the problem of the fact that it's basically a baby and has to be taught everything it is going to know. It learns very quickly, but is also, because it is being raised in this sort of criminal environment, it learns a lot of bad things in the process. And of course, the criminals are very impatient and want to immediately have results, I guess. It sounds convoluted. It is convoluted. It doesn't know where it wants to go. It doesn't, and like I said about the marketing campaign, there are crazy action sequences. There are attempts at lighthearted comedy. When Neil Blomkamp tries to fuse this into a cohesive whole, what he comes up with is a mess, basically. The characters are not very appealing. The performances are all universally pretty lackluster. Hugh Jackman and Sigourney Weaver are in this film. Both of them are completely wasted in their roles. Sigourney Weaver plays the head of the corporation responsible for the scout robots, and she's given nothing to do and appears very dim, like she doesn't know anything about the product she's putting out. And Hugh Jackman plays a rival engineer who is a rival of Dion, and he doesn't believe that robots should be given any type of intelligence, so he has created this very Ed 209-esque robot called the Moose, which is driven basically like a video game from a helmet that is worn by an operator, and then it's sort of like an avatar type thing where you project what you want to do into this robot and it does it for you. But the design of it is straight out of the original RoboCop Ed 209. So it's very much either a tip of the hat to RoboCop and the concept of robotic police from RoboCop, or it's just a straight up ripoff. I'm not sure what to call it. The only thing I can really say about Chappie, other than it's disappointing, is it seems sort of misguided. And I say that because the idea of it is very cool, the execution of the visual effects is very cool, but the script doesn't seem to know whether it wants to be that lighthearted comedy, sort of a modern version of Short Circuit meets RoboCop, or if it wants to take on all of these questions of consciousness and morality and how we treat each other. But when you go in to see a movie and on the poster it literally says he's humanity's last hope or something like that, he doesn't do anything in this film to save humanity. I kept waiting for the scope of this film to sort of widen and something to happen, or you know, there to be some sort of monumental impact by this robot that has a mind of its own, basically, and it never really happens. What we get is sort of a mishmash action sequence at the end that really doesn't help the film at all. So I really wanted to like this film. I was just extremely disappointed with it. So I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. The redeeming qualities being that it does have occasional great moments, but they are few and far between. Mostly this film is hampered by a script that doesn't have any idea what it wants to do. So unfortunately, this is the first big disappointment of the year, for me anyway. So I would say if you're looking forward to Chappie, dial back your expectations quite a bit. Probably wait for it on home video or Netflix. So there you go. That's my review of Chappie from 2015. If you have any questions, as always, feel free to post a comment below. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe and, of course, rate or comment on this video. As always, take it easy, and thanks for watching.